All right. So you got some money? Well, you don't, but you're always crying poor. But we assume you got some money. And you have a baseball team that has Emmanuel Clase more than likely on the trade block. And let's be serious, we might have about 2.5 weeks left with Emmanuel Clase on this baseball team. Would you believe that, Tone? All right. Steven Kwan, his conversation has been brought up a couple of times. I want to get into the nitty-gritty of it. You got $100 million to spend on the guy. Would you spend $100 million on Steven Kwan? 216-474-0092. Would you give him a contract?
So, what, you're talking 3 years, $30 million?
Well, I would have to say 4 years at probably 120.
Yeah, so I would, but I ran this by a bunch of people, and they were very split.
That's a short conversation, then.
Very, very split on whether or not to do this, because Kwan is, so important to us. He's been vital to us in everything we do. But then again, the market, now the people that I reached out to, they said they thought he could get that money elsewhere.
Mm-hmm.
But it seems like he's way more important to us than he might be elsewhere.
You and I might have reached out, cross-referencing, we might have reached out to the same guy at one point. But go ahead.
So then it boils down to, well, who do we pay that much money to? Who do the Guardians ever pay that much money to? I mean, the highest paid player on our team is somebody who took a massive, massive discount in Jose Ramirez.
Uh-huh.
And then Kwan would be making way more money than him with a setup like this, would he not?
I'm not per year. I mean, yeah, but contracts, they go up.
Sure.
Just because Jose took a discount doesn't mean I can't pay somebody more. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, Jose's making 21 this year, 23 next year, 25 the year after, and obviously Kwan would clear that at 30.
Yeah, but wouldn't Jose took the discount? Wouldn't he be fine with somebody making? I don't think he cares.
Yeah.
So I don't think that would be a big deal.
But I like, how high would the Guardians? That was clearly as high as they would go then, right? If they would have gone higher, Jose would have taken that money.
So Andres Jimenez is the only one I can think of that made over $100 million here. He's signed a 7-year, $106.5 million deal, which that's certainly less than what Steven Kwan would make per year. I mean, you're looking at a $30 million leadoff hitter per year. The reason I say yes is, who else are you going to pay? Who else are you going to pay? Are we going to wait for this fictitious bopper to pay $100+ million a year? Or perhaps that fictitious bopper who doesn't exist in this lineup, or I think even in the farm right now, do you think that guy's going to stay around for your $100 million? I think Steven Kwan would stay around for $120 million over 4 years. I think he might be willing to do that. And I think if you become such a distressed asset, the way that Tone brings that up, I think that he'd still be a tradable commodity to a team like that can afford him. The Mets, the Dodgers, the Yankees, who would drop $120 million or the rest of that contract, no problem with Steven Kwan to set their table every single year. You're telling me you're going to get me a guy on base for the New York Yankees for the rest of that lineup with the guys who actually can bop? Yeah, you'll certainly do that. So I don't see the problem here with Steven Kwan. I don't think that if you pay him $120 million, we're on the same page, so I'm coming off argumentative with you. I don't see the problem in paying Steven Kwan a 4-year, $120 contract because he's consistent, because he will always be able to, you will be able to find somebody for him if you need to find somebody for him at that price. I think that's an affordable price for another ball club out there, as I just said. And I don't think that he's all of a sudden going to fall apart the way Andres Jimenez did.
Now, does it bother you that he's not hitting for power at all?
I need, again, who am I getting that can hit for any consistent power other than him? Manzardo's too soon to call. Is it not? I mean, he can hit for some power, but he's not even an everyday player for me to really see him right now.
On this team.
Yeah.
Like the worst Guardians team I can remember in a long time.
And by the way, that's probably not his fault. That's probably more the Guardians' fault, and they got a 39-year-old first baseman standing over there. So I don't want to put that on Kyle Manzardo just yet. But you got some guys with some power that, if they had some power, give him the money. Give him the money. Let him bat fourth right behind Jose, and let's get this thing going. Like you would do something like that. I don't have that guy. John Kenzie Noel isn't that guy. Who else? CJ Kafis? I don't know yet. I don't know Chase DeLauder yet.
Well, you're talking about our organization where the development for the hitters just in general has been far below average.
Who am I saving money for? And if you're getting, and let me tell you this, you said, does it bother me that he's only a singles hitter or a doubles hitter? He doesn't hit a lot of home runs, right? What am I going to get in return right now for Steven Kwan? What am I going to get in return? Probably the same thing I would get in a few years, and they'd be willing to spend the rest of the money on that contract. If he can set the table for one of those big home run hitting lineups that pride themselves on that, and we know who we're talking about there, then I just don't see the downside.
Yeah,
and it's not even about throwing your fans a bone. It's about paying a player that still has a future for you. He'd be if you were to sign him now, you're looking at a guy who's going to be turning 30 at that time at the end of it, right? It makes sense.
What makes me nervous is that it hadn't already happened. And because it hadn't already happened, you get nervous. Now, has he played so well that his value has gone up exponentially?
Well,
probably
he's
not.
An all-star, probably is.
It's probably leveled off, right? His value, the one risk in not signing a guy like Kwan when they try to obviously get out ahead of these contracts is that they're going to explode. Well, he hasn't exploded. I mean, if anything, he's kind of leveled off. I mean, he batted 290 last year. He's batting 290 this year. So, I mean, if we've seen the ceiling of Steven Kwan at this point, now maybe in another lineup he could do better. Might see more pitches, might see better pitches in another lineup. I don't know. But I think that's kind of where we're at with Kwan, is that his number is probably leveled off, and that's the value, and he probably is going to be able to get $30 million.
That is, to me, the going rate for 290 and leadoff hitters and consistency that can get on base. If you don't want to pay that, then what are you doing as a baseball team? That you want to talk about really angry, that's going to make you angry. If there's a guy that deserves a pay raise for this baseball team, it's got to be Steven.
Yeah, especially when you traded Naylor.
Exactly.
And you had your reasons. People.
Yes, you did.
I do think we've seen some revisionist history on the Naylor trade. Were we not talking about how sustainable is that with his body? He's gained weight.
And he got hurt again this year.
And then you were trying to make way for some of the younger guys. Now we could debate whether that has been executed well. It certainly hasn't. But Naylor's batting 294 and he's giving you some pop with 11 home runs.
And he ain't going to give $100 million to his brother at this juncture right now. He's just the benefit of there's nobody around him that can come up and catch for you. And Austin Hedges, he's an assistant coach. So he's got that benefit for you. But who else are you unless we want to talk about the pitchers? Are the pitchers more valuable? Is there somebody that you can keep there at that level who's worth it right now? I mean, Tanner Bibby's already signed, so you figure that one out. Is Big Rig there for you that you would possibly seduce him with that sort of money? I'm asking a legitimate question here. Maybe, but when it comes to your lineup, it's not just about doing your fans a service and throwing them a bone and paying a guy that they like. It's about, if you're not going to be a home run hitting team, and at this juncture, I just don't think you really ever will be. Until you get lucky with somebody who decides to be a real big home run hitter. Because Jose's been in home run derby, but I don't think that people look at him. He's just a complete hitter and a complete baseball player. He's almost a throwback. But when it comes to home run hitting, who else do I have to pay? I don't. They don't exist in this organization. So I might as well stand for something and get me a guy who's good defensively, who's certainly good at the plate, and who's consistent at the plate.
Did it anger you that in Jeff Passan's column over the last couple days, he mentioned Kwan as a potential trade target?
It doesn't anger me. It's certainly going to be, there's going to be calls on him. It would just anger me if they actually traded him, because I don't think you need to trade him right now. I'd still like to work something out, but it can't be escaped that, there was conversation there before. Did you say that there was an offer to him at a certain point in the past, or no?
Like the Guardians, in their fashion, they always try to lock these guys up very, very early on at bargain basement prices.
Well, as of right now, he's bet on himself and it's paying off. But I'm looking at it going 4 years, $120 million for a guy like Steven Kwan. Yeah, sign me up, because I don't have anybody else that I'm really running there to pay that I think is going to be a big part of my future. Maybe Manzardo will change my mind after they trade Carlos Santana in the coming weeks, and then he gets to be an everyday player. Maybe that'll be a possibility, and I'll change my mind on something like that. But, man, until then, I need guys that I just know are going to be on base, and then I'll worry about it. Well, I can't believe I have to do this. It pains me to say this to all you guys here over the last 14 years, nearly 14 years next month here on The Fan. It's been a fun ride, but I have to concede an argument to Anthony Lima.
No, come on.
Yeah.
Stop it. It's a Friday. You don't have to.
No, that's it. Coming in hot, coming up at 9:45, but I have to concede an argument to Anthony. He ran a great argument, had a great argument, and he wins. And I lost the argument on Paul Dolan. Congratulations to you, and congratulations to your wife and 2 wonderful children. And I hope you do well with the office. I hope you do well with the argument and carrying the torch forward for Paul Dolan and the Cleveland Guardians, because I never thought I would ever get this much pushback on wanting to pay Steven Kwan.
Are the fans getting cheap?
Well, it's amazing to me where we spent the first part of the week. I mean, we had to dump callers on Paul Dolan. And here we are at the end of the week. Now, they won 3 games. They did. They won 3 in a row. But we get to the end of the week, and, well, you can't pay Steven Kwan that much. You can't pay Steven Kwan that much. Oh, okay. Why? I don't just want to pay garbage. He's not garbage. See, now, you know what? I'm going to rise like a phoenix. Here I come again. Back in the saddle. Because, damn it, you were with me the first 3 days of this week, everybody. I had finally seen the light. I was carrying just as much water as Anthony Lima was for Paul Dolan over the last couple of years, going, hey, you know, he's a steady owner. He overachieves. He keeps the front office together. Yeah, they got close. Yeah, I know. They didn't spend any money going into this offseason. They got rid of some guys that they probably shouldn't have. They pulled back instead of pushing forward after they were 3 wins away from the World Series and they were still in the ALCS. But, you know, the television deal, they got the rug pulled out from under. And, guys, I had finally seen the light. Zach Meisel had got me to see the light, going, hey, you know, that's no excuse there. They could still, if he's got this plan to sell this baseball team here, you can still go in and make these investments and still get paid off in the long run because the organization's worth $1 billion. Okay, here we go. I look at my baseball team. I got Jose Ramirez. Well, I've already paid Jose Ramirez, but then there's Steven Kwan. What other guy do I have to pay other than Steven Kwan? Well, how much does Steven Kwan want? He's going to want about $30 million. So I start texting my guys because I got to tell you, when I first heard $30 million, I go, sheesh, that's a lot of money for a leadoff hitter and a guy who don't hit home runs. But then I start texting a bunch of people and they go, yeah, Ken, he's going to get $30 million a year on the open market if he keeps this up. 298, leadoff hitter, table setter. He'll do that. And then my mind started to race. Because it's not just, and I got hell over it from even coworkers earlier this morning on the show. And I'm not talking about anybody even in the room right now. About, well, you can't just make an argument to pay Steven Kwan because you can't pay anybody else. That's still not a good investment. I think it is a good investment. If Steven Kwan is signed by you for $30 million a year, or say it's a 4-year, $120 million deal, you have one of the 2 most consistent pieces of your offense locked up. You have a guy who you know can get on base. What you don't have is any one of these home run hitters that we all think that we're going to have, which is a fictitious being. You have a better chance of having the Loch Ness Monster bat forth for you over there than you do anybody who you can count on to hit home runs for you consistently. So I might as well believe in the Loch Ness Monster and Sasquatch and a Yeti all in our lineup before I believe in that. So who else am I? It's not about who else am I going to pay. It's I actually have a guy who's worth it, because if he leads off for me and he hits well and he continues to do this thing, great. He sets the table for some of my young pups coming up. Or if he does and we still can't get wins because the rest of them are still bad, I can trade the guy. If I pay the guy and he ain't worth it, David Blitzer's going to pay off on that. I don't have to pay off on that. So where's the hurt here? And I keep getting a bunch of people going, Ken, he's not worth it. You're crazy. He's not worth it. I go, so hold on. We're yelling at Paul Dolan because he's cheap. It's Dolan's cheaps all over again. We're yelling at him because he's cheap. I'm giving you a guy that, yes, does come at a price, but he is a good ball player. He's an all-star this year, for crying out loud. No. He's cheap, but I don't want him spending that much on Steven Kwan, which is what he'll get on the open market. I give up. I was with you, and we all seem to be together. And when it comes down to it, you don't want to pay Steven Kwan. Okay, well then, hell, then I guess you know what? I guess I go back and I say, I'm going to pull a Jeff. I guess I should say that you guys have no right to complain about this baseball team whatsoever. You just need to accept this. I'll pull a Tim Kirkjian and say, You guys should be thankful that you have an ownership and a front office that's this good and an overachiever. You guys could always be the Pirates. You guys could always be the Rockies. I should say that. I got nobody agreeing with me about Steven Kwan and wanting to pay Steve. 216-474-0092. I beg you, anybody who agrees with me about paying Steven Kwan, I cannot believe this. I'm being boat raced in this argument. Hey, this is you are Ronald Reagan right now with me. Congratulations.
Well, I wonder.
It's an October surprise, apparently. This is Dewey defeats Truman over here with you.
I wonder if it's just that, Kwan doesn't hit home runs. So in today's day and age, baseball, where it is in 2025, the fans are like, well, what's that worth? Like, what if we said, all right, fine, forget $30 million a year. What about $25 million a year? Does that make a difference? To the average fan, that would be, $25 million over 5 years. But does that make a difference to the average Guardians fan? Would they then say, okay, fine, we'll support him?
You've invested in a guy that clearly is he not worth it? How old will Steven Kwan be at the end of the contract? How old is Steven Kwan right now? If I extend him here, I got 2 more years of control over him, and I offer him $120 million over 4 years. That's a very nice amount of money, all right? It's going to be more than Andres Jimenez was making, $7 million or 7 years over $106 million, and you jettison him or $107. What's $1 million between friends? He's got 2 more years of arbitration. He's available for free agency in 2028. I could pay him, keep him happy, and then, hopefully keep him happy. I don't know. Maybe he still ain't going to be happy with that amount of money. I still think that's a nice amount of money, but who the hell am I? And then he's a free agent in 2028. And if this team sucks, I still can liquidate the asset of the money he makes as long as he's playing well. Does anybody think he's not going to play well? He's been pretty consistent now. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. I thought that this was a nice thing where, hey, I didn't think that that Paul Dolan was going to find himself back in the fans' good. Well, I don't know if Paul Dolan has ever actually been in the fans' good graces, has he? No,
not really.
Okay, so I don't think it's going to put Paul Dolan in the good graces of the fan base. But hey, you want him to spend some money. It's a frustrating year. Here's a guy for your future in Steven Kwan, who's 27, going on 28 years old next year. He's in his prime. He's not a power hitter. Okay, so what? So it'll be 28, at the end of this year. In September, it'll be 28. But he's in his prime right now. What's the matter with that? We don't want him there. 216-474-0092. Maybe I've lost touch with the general. I thought that, Tony, what do you have to say for this and this tremendous win that you have?
Well, I didn't really think it was a big win for me. I just think fans maybe see 30 million and maybe it's already baked in that they assume, well, we're never going to pay anybody that anyway. So we're not even going to allow that to seep into our brains that it's a possibility. Well, so 30 must be too high.
I would start screaming and yelling and go, well, if you're going to pay him 30 million, that must mean you can afford other guys too, because you've been sitting on this amount of money. Who else can you afford? Yeah, it's not where just Steven Kwan takes up. If Steven Kwan were to get paid $30 million a year by this club, I'm not going to turn right around and go, well, Steven Kwan's taking up all the money. So, hey, it's Steven Kwan's fault for accepting money. Hey, you just got out from under the Andres Jimenez deal, and that, thank God you did, because that would have been a terrible, terrible, terrible deal. And we'd be screaming and yelling about that. Fair. But damn, you guys want him. I want him to invest in Steven Kwan, because where else am I going to get offense right now? Maybe Kyle, and to be honest with you, I know I'm coming off really sarcastic and nasty here for a second. Let me be totally brute honest on all this. If Kyle Manzardo, if they trade Carlos Santana here in the next couple of weeks, and Kyle Manzardo gets his chance every single day, and he rakes over that time over the second half of the season, we can reevaluate this and say, well, maybe that's our bopper that we've been looking for. If I know Chase DeLauter was not in the lineup yesterday and people were freaking out. Meredith was texting me because they were thinking, finally, oh my God, he's going to get called up there. Chase DeLauter will eventually be up here. If Chase DeLauter gets called up and he looks like he shows some promise, maybe that will be the way for everybody. It's not a done deal on any of this term, but I'm going, man, this is a guy who I'm looking for consistency, because I can't imagine that we're ever. I mean, someday we're probably going to have some guy who can hit for power on a consistent basis, but I just don't know who that's going to be until he actually does it. because we've had high hopes for a lot of different guys, and they haven't been able to do anything for us. Tom and Menor, you're first up in the fan. Hello, Tom.
Can't agree with you wholeheartedly.
Wow.
I think,
hey, all right.
Hey, there we go.
Sign the guy. Here's why. Who else on that team right now that you would give a big contract to?
I was trying to find that person earlier today. I don't think so.
You got 6 guys hitting under 200. You need a leadoff guy on this team. Ramirez only has a couple of years left, maybe 4 years, maybe max, because he's, 33? So, he's the next guy up. You pay him the money. The other guys are work in progress. They got to prove that they can, play every day, get that average up. Manzardo, I kind of agree with you there a little bit, but he's got to give me another year at least before I start thinking about extending that guy. He's got to get up to 250, 275 and start hitting some home runs, more consistently. But outside of that, who else do you have on this team that's worth that kind of money? Nobody. Pay it.
I would think the same thing there, Tom. Thank you very much for the call. 216-474-0092. It's way too early to talk about anything with Travis Bazzana about that. I mean, hell, by the time you're paying Travis Bazzana, Steven Kwan's no longer a Guardian under that contract. So, and David Blitzer's the owner. I would imagine, right?
Wait to hear more on that, Kenny.
Okay. I shouldn't go assuming things. That part I take back.